What's up YouTube, it's Merciless Thunder, and welcome to a review of the Hoverbot, which was recently featured in War Robot's Skirmish mode. Alrighty guys, let's get right into this. Take a closer look at this thing. So, Hover has been out for quite some time, but this is one of the first skirmishes I've seen where it is involved. The skirmish itself allows you to mount Molots, Terrans, Arbalest, and Scourge. Let's see, am I forgetting something? Oh yes, Orcons as well. So basically, what we're looking at here, as you can see on the upper left, is a medium robot. It can mount 2 medium weapons and 1 light weapon. The name is a little misleading, as you'll be able to tell from the footage. It doesn't really hover. Hovering would mean it would be staying put in one place in the air. But this particular bot is really not much more than a glorified griffin in terms of what it can do in the air. It can jump, but it cannot really hover per se. Now the one thing about it is the jumping allows it to travel maximum distance, undeniably the farthest jumping in the game. It's the farthest glide distance in the game for sure. Now I have mixed feelings about this bot. I seemingly cannot form any sort of opinion of whether I actually like it or not, for the simple reason that I find it a bit of a paradox. And I'm going to get into more detail about what I mean by that in a minute. Now, the Arbalest mount, Arbalest Gust mount, like you can see here, I really question the integrity of this mount. Because, as you can see, it'll get you kills, but only in certain situations. You have to be lined up with supporting fire. You have to have someone in the background giving you backup. And so it's almost like the weapon itself is a contradiction. And I've seen this before with different robots. And so I feel like it is the same scenario all over again. This robot itself is one of those special robots you're going to have to play a certain way. You can't just play it as a all-out frontline brawling robot. It is not intended for that, nor will it be. And I know a lot of players, their first instinct is to think, oh, I have advanced weapons, I got premium weapons, I paid my way through this, so I should be good, you know. And no, the answer is still no. Some people might think because of its special jumping ability, it can be one of the first ones to fight, it can be one of the first ones in line of defense. In reality, that's not at all true. This robot is not intended to be used that way, and if it is used that way, it's going to have issues. The player is going to dislike it. And the thing that you have to understand with medium robots is if you use it that way, you're not going to be pleased with its performance because it's not going to play up to your expectations. That being said, it is a good bot in the sense that it has a very unique capability that can be used to your advantage. You can use the jump to attack, but you cannot use the jump to brawl. And what I mean by that is you have to keep your distance. There's a lot of bots like this in War Robots that just simply require you to keep your distance until you see the opportunity to get a good shot in and take out whatever it is you're hunting down. And this bot is the king of that particular situation. You have to wait until you see an opportunity and then just lunge in there and then lunge out. That's the one thing that I will stress over and over throughout this video. Lunge in, but lunge back out. You cannot use this thing to push without taking cover. Make sure before you push, if and when you push, you have cover available and you have supporting fire. That's all I have to say. If you go pushing in there all by yourself, you're going to get upset at how poorly this thing performs in that particular scenario. Now, this particular skirmish mode allows mount of different range weapons, okay? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about each particular mount, okay? The one we're looking at right now is Scourge, okay? You got a Scourge and then you have a light weapon that's similar to Scourge. It uses the same sort of lock-on style, energy shield ignoring energy ray. And basically, with the Scourge, the thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that it gets maximum damage only when it's within range of like 300 meters. You're going to have to be prepared to get in close. And what I mean by that is not charge right into the whole enemy team and be the first one in. I mean, and I'm going to keep saying this because it's extremely important to remember when you're playing this bot. What I mean is that you're going to have to wait for an opportunity, just like you see that individual there doing. Wait for an opportunity, get lined up, take your shot, and retreat as quickly as you can. You have to keep in mind that this skirmish mode plays only hovers, and so you're competing with bots that have the exact same abilities and capabilities as you, which is not going to be, realistically speaking, happening a lot in random mode or in the solo mode. It's not going to be happening. And there's a reason for that. Most people are not going to pay $50 for a premium robot. They're just not. And so if you happen to be the one that purchases this particular bot, you're going to have to keep that in mind. You're going to be playing heavy robots. And if you push out on the front lines, you're not going to be fighting your type. Now, this bot has a very, very high propensity to be targeted simply because it's a premium weapon. And that makes a lot of players angry. Because they think, oh, pay to win, pay to win. Must kill, pay to win. To prove themselves. Okay? A lot of players feel that way. But the other thing you're going to have to keep in mind is, if you go charging out there... Now, I mean, this thing is great for capturing points, okay? Don't get me wrong, it is probably the most effective in the game at capturing points, simply for that reason. That it can get to and from where it needs to go in a very, very short amount of time. So with that in mind, it doesn't really have to try hard to get the point, get back. But with that being said, you're going to have to keep a sharp lookout for your position relative to the enemy team. If you're within their line of sight, they're going to target you no matter what other weapons are on the battlefield. I don't care if the whole other team is built of maxed out fusions with maxed out Terrans. It's not going to matter. They're going to target you simply because you're easier to kill. Those who know their stuff know that you're a medium robot. They know you're not hard to take down. They know you don't have shields. And so they're going to target you for the simple reason you're easy to kill, especially if they have lock-on weapons. If you see a lock-on weapon on the enemy team, you need to keep your distance. For that simple reason. You're not going to be able to use this weapon as a broadside weapon. It's just not happening. So, when you make a push, like I did just now, in this particular footage, you need to ensure that you are aware of your entire surroundings, not just one. And that when you have completed your charge, you get to cover as quickly as possible. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Orcon, because I feel like the Orcon is a little bit too overrated sometimes. The Orcon has an extremely high fire rate. It's the highest fire rate of any rocket system in the game. Okay? But its reload is not prime. It's not the best. And a lot of players will assume because they have Orcons that they're good, even with bots like this one. And that's cannot be further from the truth. If you're going to make a sudden affrontive attack and then a sudden unexpected retreat, you're going to have to keep in mind that you're going to have to wait for the window in the battle that will allow you to do so. Now again, as you can see here, it's excellent at getting to points on time. But notice where the enemy team is. I can get ranged kills with my Molots here without a whole lot of difficulty, but I wasn't anywhere near the enemy team at the time. Now one thing with the Molots, so we've already established, okay, with the Orcons, we've established don't get too close, don't be too cocky. You got to still plan your maneuver before you launch yourself right into it. That's just how you have to play the spot with almost any weapon. Now with the Molots, a lot of players, it's just a hot topic because a lot of players are just like, you know, is this weapon even worth it? Like, does it do enough DPS to where you can actually do something in the battle, or is it just a default noob weapon? And to answer that question, we have to talk about its application in with this particular robot. The Molot can be used to range kill. It can be used to effectively range kill. It can be used to get effective range damage. So it's not a close-up weapon. With that being said, this particular robot is not a close-up weapon. So the Molot is actually, if you have a 3 Molot combination, as long as they are maxed out or if they are highly researched, it can be a pretty effective combination. And the reason for that being is if the Molot bot, so to speak, gets too close, it can retreat almost within an instant to the other side of the battlefield. So I feel like the Molot is a good weapon for this particular robot, as the skirmish mode proved well to do. I feel like the Molot is a good weapon for this, as do I feel the Scourge is a good weapon for it. Scourge is a formidable weapon, but it has to be used correctly. With a Scourge, you're going to have to give yourself time to lock on to the target, and you're also going to have to give yourself time to retreat. You can't just hold and obsess over getting that kill. You have to be prepared to run if you get into a tight spot. And tight spot with lock-on weapons, tight spots are very common. But be prepared to use that sword that you have. I feel I don't like to make it sound weak, because it is a pretty effective robot if used correctly, but I feel like this robot is more of a squirrel with a knife, so to speak. It has an extremely OP weapon system that if used correctly can get you a good W. But at the same time, it's relatively weak in sense of armor, and it's going to be a primary target for whoever happens to notice it. Now here's another problem right here, this footage. Check that out. It's another problem you're going to be facing with this robot. I don't think there's really any robot in War Robots that has effective control over the jump system. If you jump, you have to plan where you're going to go, when you're going to go, exactly where you want to land, or you're going to be asking for trouble, especially on this map. It's relatively easy to overextend your jump and to go beyond your target or beyond your targeted landing area. So it's something you're going to have to keep in mind as well. Now let's talk Terrans, because we haven't talked much about those yet. Now as you know, probably you've seen them on the Fusion most often. The Terran is one of the most high damage energy systems in the game. It's also energy ignoring, so it's one of the most powerful. Check this out as well, guys. Don't go in the fans. Don't go in the fans. I learned that the hard way. That's the thing about the hover, is it can go places that other robots can't. So you go to the places that you can easily get to the places that kill you. So keep that in mind. Be cautious where you take off and where you land. Think before you launch, so to speak. But back on the Terrans, I really feel like the Terran is an okay weapon for this as long as you have supporting fire. It's the same thing as the Fusion. You're going to have a friendly, team-oriented supporting fire. Just like you have to have with the Fusion. You can't use the Fusion as a brawling robot just because it has maxed out Terrence. You're going to die eventually. And the reason is, it's a medium robot. And it's a primary target as well because of its low health compared to the heavier robots. And because of its the shields. It's just going to be something that people are going to shoot at just because of what it is. With the hover, they're going to shoot at it because it's fast, because it's a premium weapon, and because it's up in the air. Anything that's up in the air, they're going to shoot at. Okay? It's just, I feel like it's human nature. It really is. To target that which is easy to target. And with the Terrans are close range energy weapons. They have a max range of 350 meters. Actually, it's a little over 350, I believe. It's like 365, somewhere in that range. It might even be as much. It might even be as much as 380. I'm not 100% sure. But you're gonna have to play them carefully. Keep that in mind. It's an ambush weapon. Now check this out, guys. For $10,000 or 10,000 components, my bad. That's $50. So is it worth that? That's the question that I can't seem to answer quite easily.
Hope that was helpful, guys. Like and subscribe to see more, and we will see you in the next episode. Thunder out.